See if you can sit in.
Nice chair.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. You are the early risers in Vegas, I take
Explanation
it.
of the electrons.
The joke that everybody has
Everybody
to tell.
sits separate to that.
So I'm going to let all these underachievers up here introduce themselves, and then we're going to ask a bunch of questions, and you can ask us questions. Mark?
Hi, everybody. I am Mark Stutzman. I'm the CTO of Area 15. We are an immersive experiential venue just down the road, and hopefully you'll all get to give us a visit while you're in town.
And we'd love to see what you
All
do.
right.
And we'd love to see the reel.
Yes, can we play the Area 15 reel, please?
Good, we get to see it.
Okay,
We even got dimming of the lights.
Area 15 is a platform, innovation, connection to people in a way that is so sorely missing today. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It's like going into another dimension.
Fantastic. Mario, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Iacampo, President of Creative Director Exhibition Hub. Tough act to follow, but let's try. Play the video.
Hilary, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Hilary McVicker. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing at the Illuminati. We're an immersive projection design firm, and we design and deploy immersive and interactives. And we can play our show reel.
Imagine a place that can take you any place. And if you can imagine that, imagine what this place can be. This is a Tanzanian savannah in the heart of Atlanta.
Zero audio.
A safari where you're face to face with a lion's pride. A trip to Africa.
We'll just trade. We'll trade.
We'll trade.
It's not only that. This is an underwater ballet with 40-ton giants. A base camp atop Everest. A spectacle of the northern lights. Or a stroll along the craters of the moon. So what's this magical place that can take you any place? We call it an Illuminarium. And this summer on the Atlantic Beltline, you won't have to
remix.
imagine
Yeah.
what it's like any longer. Illuminarium. Go there here.
So our company names are very similar. I think there was just a kind of a mashup there. That was my visual at the beginning for Illuminati with Illuminarium audio, and then we finished with Illuminarium. So,
Surprise.
hey,
Well, Alan, Brian, maybe we can do the opposite.
Yeah, we
Your
decided
visual,
to
her
do
audio.
a little remix today. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Allen. I'm the Executive Vice President of Technology and Content Integration at Illuminarium, and I think this is my show reel.
that would be my audio.
Hi. There you go, Hilary. Can
Double
we now
dose.
run Illuminariums, if possible? Cool.
Imagine a place that can take you any place. And if you can imagine that, imagine what this place can be. This is a Tanzanian savannah in the heart of Atlanta. A safari where you're face to face with a lion's pride. A trip to Africa and back in the blink of an eye. But it's not only that. This is an underwater ballet with 40-ton giants. A base camp atop Everest. A spectacle of the northern lights. Or a stroll along the craters of the moon. So what's this magical place that can take you any place? We call it an Illuminarium. And this summer on the Atlantic Beltline, you won't have to imagine what it's like any longer. Illuminarium. Go there here.
As a little fangirl moment, I'm in awe. I mean, you guys are rather amazing. So I'm going to ask some questions. Some of you can answer, whoever feels, and you don't all have to answer everything, but you know, we are at Infocom. Tell us about your technology and what you've created and how is it unique from other things? Who wants to jump in first?
Sounds like
Hilary.
Illuminati. So we do immersive projection design, spherical displays. So we're using typically fisheye lenses. OmniFocus is our projection technology, although we have introduced a line of compound curved LEDs as well. We typically project onto curved screens, compound curved screens. So there's an upward and a downward field of view as compared to the very tall flat screen displays that most of these experiences are bringing. And those experiences are amazing for huge wow factor and high throughput. I think what our experiences do are more typically a more intimate experience. We rely heavily on interactivity, things are hands-on, and we really emphasize kind of a collaborative, shared experience.
I'm going to quickly ask the audience. My hearing may be bad. Are you guys able to hear her well? Okay, maybe a little.
No, we can't hear.
It's just a.
Well, I can talk louder. Is that better? Okay. So I would say that a description that resonates these days for what we do is group VR. So again, social, collaborative way to experience this 360 and immersive content without the need for headsets. So OmniFocus lenses and our suite of real-time geometry correction for interactive content creation and media mashup tools is that's what makes what we do. Globes, panoramas, that sort of thing. A lot of work in museums and science centers and partnerships with NASA and NOAA to bring their data into hands-on experiences, but also a lot of work in enterprise and in entertainment. Most of our larger projects have been through integrators, but we've worked directly with DreamWorks, Princess Cruise Lines, companies like that to create these, again, social, collaborative brand experiences.
Cool. Mark?
Sure, yeah, I think for us, technology was key from day one because a couple of reasons. One, we're producers of experiences, but we're also curators of experiences. And we also are the enclosure for all of the experiences. So we have to think about both the guest journey and how we build all of this invisible technology to enable this incredible experience before they visit the venue, while they're at the venue, and post-visit. But we also had to build something that was versatile enough that we could run our own experiences, but also host the best experiences in the world, which means the technology platforms and the infrastructures to make that happen are pretty complex. But we've done a good job, and part of our goal has been to just be insanely nimble. So
Yeah.
as we identify these experiences that are just extraordinary, we can rapidly bring them into the venue and give them a home and provide marketing support and enable them to flourish. And by the way, two of the panelists up here today are hosted at Area 15. Mario with Van Gogh and the Klimt experience has been running for a long time and insanely successful. And Brian Illuminarium is now part of the Area 15 campus. So
That's remarkable. Either of you?
Sure. So at Illuminarium, we're a digitally delivered experience. I think what makes us unique is, like Mark said, flexibility and nimbleness is really key for us. We're a multimodal experience, so we have the same canvas, the same format, but we can, at the flip of a switch, turn into a cocktail experience, an ultra lounge, a safari experience. We can flip shows on a dime. So I think what makes us unique is we built this technology infrastructure where the parts are not necessarily proprietary. You can go out and get these components, projectors, speakers, but the connective tissue of how all of that works together, the show control, the custom software, and then also how we layer technology. I like to say that we have a technology cocktail because throughout the multi-sensory experience that you're going to get at an Illuminarium through the haptics in the floor, the scent delivery systems, the 3D LiDAR tracking systems, the 3D beamforming audio. Through all of those layers of technology that are hidden, we do a lot of work to hide those things. We want to bring as much reality into our experience as we can.
I was blown away, and I must say, as impressive as everything was, the audio was remarkable. It was like you just wanted to kind of be bathed in it.
Yes. Sound bath is something that we're looking at.
And Mario?
I think for us it starts with content, and at the end of the day, that's what the public cares about, that you have content that they like. I think the technology remains a tool. I think what's nice is that the technology, there's a lot of technology being developed, which can then be adapted to what we do, but transparent to the audience. But at the end of the day, it's about the audience will love the VR experience because of the content, not because of the VR technology itself, but the VR technology has to be really good for them to enjoy the VR experience. I think that that's, for us, it really begins with choosing content which we feel is attractive to a wide base of audience, first of all. And then after that, what technology is used in any given gallery, because we take the approach of having a lot of context prior to seeing the immersive experience, prior to seeing the large projection. So all of that, I think, for us, comes into the user experience, and the technology is important, be it augmented reality, which we do quite a bit of, be it virtual reality, which we do quite a bit of, and of course the projections, to have the best available technology to project in the highest definition possible the content.
That's great. And it leads me into the next question, which you've kind of answered. So we've got storytelling technology. What is the relationship between the two? And where is that going in immersive entertainment? How does that fit in location-based experiences? Zoos? I mean, there are a lot of different places. Hilary, want to jump in there?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's key that the technology is there to serve the story. Ideally, the technology disappears. I mean, that's the key to immersion. You're really not seeing how it's done, you're just in there. And I think it's that perfect blend of, you're right though, Mario, the technology has to be on to create that immersion. So the blend of amazing visuals, spatial audio to make you see and hear, but then the story is what makes you feel. And that really is what has impact. And I think those are, Trent, you mentioned zoos. Our company does a lot of work in taking the high production value and the experiences that come from location-based experiences and bringing them into these more kind of edutainment venues. And so taking that, again, the cinematic quality and the intensity of story can make these learning experiences really powerful and profound.
That's great. My thought is that if the content's not great, it's going to get old fast.
Yes.
But how are you guys handling that?
Well, we handle it through constant change. I think that's the only chance to keep the guest entertained in 2022, right? It's kind of shocking. I mean, my attention span is insanely short.
Yeah.
And so guests' attention spans are even shorter. And I have a 20-year-old son in the audience. I can tell you his attention span is about 30 seconds. And so that's the demographic that we're catering to, right? We want to keep them entertained constantly. But I think it comes back to, yes, the technology enables the storytelling and the immersion of the experience, and we keep it fresh as much as possible.
And you can answer that, or I can throw in another one. How do you think the creation of content and experiences are changing?
I think at this point people expect interactive. I think the trend in all of our experiences at Illuminarium is heading towards generative. It's heading towards interactive. It's heading towards personalized.
Yeah.
People at this point they think everything's a touch screen already, so let's make everything interactive. Immersive experiences and the technology that we have today really support the need for the truly choose your own adventure story, right? So if it's a passive experience, the attention span kicks in. You're gonna start to tune out very quickly. So that's what we're seeing. I think it's going to be fully interactive, fully personalized.
Sounds difficult. When you were creating everything here in Las Vegas, what were the hurdles? What was really hard? What would you, if you had a chance, what would you go back and maybe tweak or adjust or change or you learn from? Because we're always learning.
I think for us the biggest thing is efficiencies. This was our second venue in Las Vegas. Like I said, the components are not proprietary, but the connective tissue is. It's how everything talks to each other. And for us is how do you optimize as much as possible so that you don't have something so customized, so bespoke that it's going to break every 30 seconds. And then that people can operate, right? So that at the push of a button, the operator can switch a show, but behind the scenes there are 50, 60 actions taking place.
How about you, Mario?
Well, for us, it's a little bit different because we move our exhibit or our experiences from venue to venue to venue, and churches, old industrial buildings, armories. Last year we did 42 cities across the world, and so for us, before we apply a given technology, it has to be reliable, and it has to be ease of use. When we design an exhibit, first we write the story.
Yeah.
We don't worry about technology. We don't worry about anything at all. And then we write them in a way, and we produce them and apply the technology in a way to eliminate. We have a saying that we want zero personnel in the venue. That people should be able to find their way, have their own experience at their own pace. That the interactive elements are intuitive. When you get to our VR room, you put the headset on and it starts. Period. You don't need one of us. You don't need any instructions. As long as you can put a pair of big glasses on, it can work. When you get to the interactive room with the kinetic cameras, you walk through and you quickly understand that it's interactive. So I think that for us is important because, we play from venues. We have a tiny venue up in York in the UK, which is 4,500 square feet, and we do everything in there, an old church. We have a venue in Montebello, California, where we have 110,000 square feet. So for us, it's the most critical thing is that our experiences are adaptable, and that you bring this technology to people. I think you were speaking about changing content. Well, our approach to that is to change cities.
Right.
So it's a little bit the same thing, and it's a big globe. But I think ultimately we do live in a digital society. We grew up with one of these, so people want you to feed them information, but they want to be able to receive the information in a format that they can quickly understand. We always tell people that you work all week, you buy a ticket to come and see a show on the weekend. The last thing you want to do is to think about what you're going to do at the show. You really want a passive interactive, if you can call it that, experience where you don't leave at the end of the day and you go, man, I have a headache. I feel like I just came out of one of those Zoom meetings. So I think that's I don't know if that was the question, but that's sort of my take on it.
And I can give you two lessons I've learned. One is when you have an artist build a 20-foot tall steel dragon that breathes fire, in Vegas you have to get a permit every time you want it to breathe fire. So that was the first lesson. But it is amazing when it breathes fire. And I think the second thing, and I say this from a CTO perspective, but never do a license over a year when you're designing an architecture and infrastructure for a venue like Area 15, because we're finding that we're changing so rapidly and technology is changing so rapidly that we are constantly swapping things out. I mean, I swap stuff out before licenses expire fairly often because we just need to have the best experience.
I would say for us, the challenge is kind of balancing innovation and incorporating. So we really keep an eye on innovations, especially in the interface world. And as AI is making gesture-based technology more robust, we're incorporating that into exhibits more often. And so we want to be creating experiences that are new and kind of bleeding edge, but yet they do have to be robust. And so for us, it's that tension between really innovative, but definitely going to work, especially when audiences of 10-year-olds who are really brutal on technology.
And that brings me to a question. Your audiences, why, Mario, your audiences, why have they responded so strongly? I mean, it's been remarkable.
Well, I think it's it always comes back to content, for sure. I think that, if we look at one of our experiences, which is the Van Gogh Immersive experience, I mean, he's a bit of a rock star already. I think the fact that there was several companies doing it helped everybody, because everybody's marketing the product, and really Van Gogh became a brand that everybody wanted to see. We're in Albany for 6 months. You would never think of bringing an exhibit to Albany for 6 months before this explosion, if you want. I think that the other thing that when people do come, what they discover beyond the classical museum is you can see 300 to 400 of his works of art as opposed to seeing the 5 or 6 that you know about, and then they tell their friends, and so I think that it's a combination of everything. The technology has arrived at a point where it's more reliable. So we have a little over 1,200 projectors working today. So if the technology was unreliable, basically I would need an infinite number of technicians to keep all 1,200 working every day, 6 days a week. So I think that's where the technology, I think, is really helping us. I think that it's become extremely reliable in non-traditional environments, in environments which are not, if you want, technology friendly. Because if I look at York again, I mean, it's an old building that has no heating or air conditioning. Period. And we're never going to be able to bring it in because it's protected. So so I think that those things are all those things together, I think, lead to the explosion.
And from my point of view, that is not a technology-based thing. I like the breaking down of the walls between art and audiences. Museums need to do that and are doing that, but it's how can we democratize experiences, art, things that are amazing. But I do want to hear from the rest of you about what is the role of the audience as they're coming through. Do they have a particular role? How are you responding to the visitor journey?
Well, I think that again comes down to sort of the interactivity angle. And it's interesting that you mentioned sort of passive interactivity. Our approach would be a little bit different in that I feel like the key takeaway for a lot of the experiences we create comes from the sense of agency that comes from having a hands-on, a user-driven, participatory experience. And so when that's what the audience is expecting and that's what they take away from it, I think that's where we find success. It's just different approaches.
I would say the audience's role is to engage and also to inform. I would say to build an incredible immersive experience is to elicit emotional response, whether that's triggering a memory or asking a question or coming away like, how did they do that? That's really interesting. And it informs us because as we understand the user journey and user experience and how people move throughout the space, how many interactions they're triggering, it informs our content. So we get better when people move throughout our space. But I think it's engaging. So we didn't do our jobs unless there's an emotional response elicited.
And we really think about how do we move that user from a spectator to a participant.
Right.
And that like drives every decision that we make at Area 15. And so, I mean, that's the magic of immersion, right? Yeah. Like they need to be involved. And that's why we have things like axe throwing, right? Like just fun, engaging.
I still don't understand a bar with axe throwing. It just seems
what is there not to understand, Trent? How can you go wrong with liquor and axes?
Sure. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the data you collect? And I'm curious about what is behind the scenes tech? What is happening that we don't know that's helping you guys?
Oh, I mean, there's the full marketing technology stack. There's the ticketing stack. There's the POS. There's all of the in-venue analytics via sensors and AI layered on top of the cameras. So there's, for us, I talk about that all the time as the invisible technology that basically enables the entire experience at the venue. And then all of the visible technology are the cool projection mapping and the VR and the AR experiences and the different kind of virtual gaming experiences. But for us, I mean, we were lucky in that we built this thing from scratch. Everybody thought we were crazy, but it allowed us to basically build this entire technology and data collection infrastructure from scratch. It also meant that every tool that we brought in we were able to assess like okay, do I have 100% API access to this
Right.
to this platform in real time? And that's because, especially from a marketing and a guest experience and a ticketing upsell and cross-sell perspective, we want to understand in real time everything that we can about that guest who's in the venue, and that enables us to cross-sell via text messaging. We know if you've had a drink an hour ago because we have our POS talking to our CRM, which is interconnected through custom middleware that we've built that basically gets all of these systems connecting. So they really act like one brain, all the way down to different experiences you're doing in the venue. We've built an AR experience called Particle Quest, and as you kind of traverse and activate these triggers, you're playing a game and you're collecting points, and those points are actually part of our loyalty system. So you can grab points, and then through the POS, you can grab a beer at the Oddwood bar using points that you've accumulated in Particle Quest. And we do this throughout the venue.
Cool. I want to see the behind the scenes. I want to come look at,
Anytime.
Brian.
I would say beyond the marketing data that people have access to, or general thing, the data that I'm really interested in is what is the experience in our venue. Unlike Area 15, you guys have a ton of experiences. We have a singular sort of 2-room experience, and so we actually use our LiDAR sensing system to understand movement throughout the space. So at a given show, we can almost create heat maps from that. Where are people spending the most amount of time in the space? I can play back a show from an interaction perspective and tie that to content. Well, is the elephant getting looked at more, or is the giraffe getting looked at more? Are people spending more time in section A or section C? And that's really interesting to us because it helps us understand, okay, when we go to build a new show, because content is king, we have to understand, well, where people are going to look the most, where people are going to spend the most time, where's the easiest place to trigger a gesture interaction. So it only makes us better in that regard.
That's great. It's all the stuff we've talked about for years, but it's actually here. A question from the audience. How are you using technology to address accessibility in your venues? It's a very big question right now, and it's not easy. Anyone?
Can you repeat that?
How are you having technology help for accessibility, sight challenged, hearing challenged, mobility challenged, opening it up to other ability people?
Well, I would say that when we refer to what we do as group VR, we are adding an element of accessibility to VR experiences that you don't find with headsets, because it's all ages, all abilities can come into the space. Doing immersive visualization for people who have vision challenges is going to be a challenge, but we work with our end users, our clients in museums and that sort of thing, to be sure that we're aligning with ADA. That's where spatial audio, I think, can really bring an important dimension in, and just being sure that we look to innovations in the museum world to guide us in how to make the experiences fit a broader range of people.
Well, we do a couple of different things. First of all, we design them a little bit like a herd mentality. You can only go in one direction when you're in our exhibit. You weave your way, but there's only one way to go. There isn't choices. We also run autistic mornings.
What was that?
Autistic mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Where we open an hour and a half early on Thursday mornings for autistic audiences, and we turn on higher the house lights in the venue. We turn down the sound. The person in all our exhibit. First of all, the person accompanying someone that needs help is always free. Doesn't matter if it's one-on-one. And so I think that that's how we're trying to reach a little bit more of the community, but also specific audiences that require special care.
We do something very similar to that, where it's sensory sensitivity days, whether it's us turning off the haptics, lights come on, volumes go down. If you're sight challenged, we can send a guide with you. So we're always trying to innovate on that to make it as accessible as possible. One of our taglines is to democratize extraordinary experiences. So that should truly be for everyone. And so we're constantly working on that. It's always on our minds.
That's great.
I mean, like from a facilities design perspective,
Yeah.
we think about it every day, and we're actually designing our next venue in Orlando right now, and we've been working on that for some time. But I mean, it kind of permeates throughout the entire venue, and we have to think about it daily. And I think from a tech perspective, obviously we have to think about accessibility. If you're standing in front of a projection mapped experience like we have called Brainstorm, we have to ensure that things like the AI are actually going to work no matter what the height of the individual. And we're actually we're redesigning that one now to enable touchscreen controls, etc. And I do think like much of the challenge beyond the venue also starts from the digital side and how you engage with an audience that has different challenges via the website, hearing impaired, sight impaired, etc. The mobile apps, kind of all the way through the experience. So we think about it a lot. I also think like there's not an experience on the planet that can't improve their experience for accessibility, and so I can say that it's constantly on our mind, and we're always trying to figure out how to improve our experience for everyone.
I really like that now accessibility is forefront, and we're expanding the audience.
Yeah.
You know, we're just bringing more people to the table. All right, I know some of you've kind of done this. How are you handling how is your technology, well, you kind of touched on this, integrated into today's experiential retail environment? Because I will say there was amazing retail experience when I went through.
Look, I think in many ways, I mean, a big chunk of what Area 15 is retail, right? And I consider not just storefronts retail, but ticketing and food and beverage and kind of the entire experience. But I mean, we try to weave some sort of crazy experience into everything you do. I mean, we have a candy shop that you can walk into and get behind a control board and completely mess with the sounds and the lighting in the store, and it probably drives some of the other customers crazy, but it's also fun, right? And I think it's something unique to Area 15. But you know, we are looking at so much stuff. I was literally I was on the phone yesterday with Amazon. I don't know if you guys have seen Amazon One, but it's basically palm scanning technology that enables you to integrate this single identifier with a million different systems. So it could be connected to a stored value card. It could be connected to your POS or your ticketing system. So you get rid of RFID, get rid of QR codes. Just walk in and scan your palm, and you can purchase tickets. So we're looking at stuff like that all the time. And I think as frictionless as the experience can be transactionally, improves the immersive experience, right? So we want you to forget about transactions for a whole host of reasons, but we want to make transacting as fun as the actual experiences themselves.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm not sure if we're doing anything interesting besides exit through the gift shop, but I would say in sort of looking ahead to sort of future transaction or frictionless transactions, and looking at the pervasive nature of how Web3 is coming on, how NFT is coming on, how blockchain is coming on, we are starting to dabble in that world and finding out how we fit in. We're a very, I would say, Web 2.0 experience. It's interactive, but we can be that portal to other digital environments and other digital assets as well.
And I would follow on with that, Brian. I mean, look, I'm a nerd, so I'm playing with Web3 stuff all the time and always trying to figure out what are the best ways to integrate it into our experience. At the same time, it's like adding crazy friction to a transaction, right? At the moment, I mean, if we're asking a guest to create a MetaMask account and then connect that MetaMask account with some Web3 platform and then maintain some amount of crypto in their wallet, Not to mention, there's really not a single good wallet for visualizing NFTs at the moment.
Nope.
Right, so it's like we're waiting for all of this stuff to come together, and I think in the next couple of years, it's going to be there, and it's going to be there hard. But I think a lot of us kind of technology builders need to work a lot now on plugging this stuff together into a seamless guest experience and a frictionless transactional environment.
Yes.
And it's going to get there because we're all so focused on it. Same thing with this insanely disparate metaverse kind of challenge we're dealing with, right? I mean, my God, if there was ever a venue that like lends itself to the metaverse, it's Area 15. It's like walking into a video game now, right? But there's so many choices that we're going to dip our toes and test a ton of the different platforms, and we're going to run hybrid experiences between the venue and the metaverse. But there is, you know, for much of this, like, it's not quite consumer ready.
Yeah.
It's nerd ready.
Yes.
And we're all going to play with it. And in a few years, it's going to be consumer ready. And I think these integrated experiences are going to be sick. But we all just have to prepare for them now and do our homework so that we're ready to hit the ground when it's time.
I'm stealing that phrase, nerd ready, multi-mobile. There are a few things. A question from the audience about Area 51, which I suspect...
Area 15, Trent.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Holy camole.
I'm so embarrassed.
Wow.
I would do that, yeah, sorry. Area
Okay.
15. Are you employing data scientists, computer scientists, creating custom algorithms via your data crunching?
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we employ data scientists, we employ data analysts, they're all on my team. We also work with an amazing data engineering group that I've been working with since launch. We have a pretty extensive data stack that's basically pulling in from probably 30 to 35 different systems, many of them once a day, many of them in real time. They're aggregated into a Redshift database. They go through a ton of transformation. We're using Looker as our front-end BI tool. We're also overlaying a ton of algorithms on top of it to do things like predict capacity increases when there's a conference like Infocom in town. And so we can pull in data from the different public data sources. I can pull in data from travel APIs, hotel booking information, price increases for flights, and I can use all of that to actually predict what the market's going to look like in Vegas on a specific day. But at a more foundational level, we're using it, one, to understand our business, and my goal is to make sure that the business owners and business unit leaders each understand their business better than any of their counterparts in the industry. And I spend a lot of time and a lot of money making sure our data stack and our BI stack kind of blows away anything that's out there. But we also are really using it to better understand our guest and create a better experience for the guest, both strategically, meaning understanding exactly what types of experiences are going to be successful based on historic data collection, but also improving that experience in real time. So yes, it requires a staff and an infrastructure and a massive time commitment, but it's worth it.
It must be an incredible dashboard.
It is a series of hundreds of dashboards, actually, yeah.
I have a multi-pronged question from the audience we got. You know, how are you making people feel things besides sound and video? But that leads into what's next. What do you see as the future of technology, and what do you want people to create so that that future comes sooner?
I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is that our haptic system in the floor, right? So I think having tactile experience beyond what you're hearing and seeing is so important, because the first thing that we think of in our venue is haptics and scent. So every show has a checklist that it goes through, and one of those is, okay, well, what's the haptic experience going to be like? Is it the elephant stomps along the wall, or is it the rocket taking off and the whole floor is rumbling? And then what does it smell like, right? Smell is our most powerful memory trigger. So whether that's triggering a nostalgic thing or triggering a new interesting thought.
Or a terrible thing.
Yeah, or a terrible thing. Yeah, exactly. Wait for our Halloween experience.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and I would say where it's going, the way I see Illuminariums, we've built a format. We took a stab at, this is the format, it's standardized across our venues, it's templatized. We're creating efficiencies along the way, but we can have a creator or a content creation team come in, look at our specs, and then deploy across all of our venues, which is really important. As much as we democratize extraordinary experiences to audiences, I would like to democratize our format to content creators. It's super, super important to us. We have an in-house visual effects team that does incredible things and knows the format really well, so we can act as guides and liaisons to other content creation teams. But that's where I see it going is, you know, we have amazing technology, but how do you open that up and truly democratize it for content creators?
And their floor haptics are killer.
Oh, I love it.
I love the floor haptics.
Yeah, I do too.
So good.
I would speak also to the democratization of content. I love that that's such a through line here, democratization. It's definitely a trend in the world of developing those tools, starting with Unity as their mission to democratize game creation, which has been picked up by Unreal. 360 video capture technology has gotten so much better and faster and cheaper. That's kind of the thinking behind Worldviewer, which is our immersive content engine. It's a fairly simple and easy to use tool for subject matter experts to tell their own story with immersive media. But it also, you know, it's our Swiss Army knife, so it has all sorts of expanded capabilities for more, you know, venues at scale. But I think that that's really the trend that we're seeing, is that both video rendered in real-time content is just going to expand more and more as more people have these tools in their hands. And what we want to do is connect that to venues, even smaller venues, and open up the world of this realm of immersive content to them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're equipping our venues now to go live, and so we're going to try it in Brussels in about a month. We're going to have a digital DJ from Hungary who will plug in live, and then the audience will come in and watch his show live while he's in his apartment in Hungary. The other part that we're working towards is to put live instruments inside the experiences. We try, and every one of our experiences we create an original soundtrack so that we can separate the instruments. And, you know, we've brought in a string quartet to play to Monet, and you know, on a Saturday night, and you have a special show. So I think that the live element with the advent of digital artists who can come, it feels like the beginning of DJs, where, you know, the DJs would come with their stack of records, and you could still hire them for $500 a night. Now, you know, that's sort of out of our realm, but, you know, the digital artists are now coming online with that, and I think these venues have a unique opportunity because there's not many venues, as much as there's a lot of immersive experiences in the world. There isn't that many for a digital artist to show his art, and I think that's sort of the next step. I also think, as far as technology is concerned, I think the HoloLenses are starting to finally become, you know, we're going to introduce them in an exhibit in the fall, because they're finally at a point where the price point between reliability, cost, and all of that is, you know, they're not $5,000 each anymore. Still not cheap, but I think those HoloLenses, giving everyone that comes through the experience a HoloLens and augmenting the reality without having to stand in one place, I think is for us where the interactivity is going.
Right.
Or technology also.
I could follow on that. I mean, we specifically to the HoloLens, we take a slightly different angle. We do a ton of VR, obviously, in the venue, but we built a custom mobile app AR experience for the venue that I talked about earlier called Particle Quest, but I feel like at this point web AR has gotten so good that we're actually doing a ton of activations within the venue that are more just about casual AR experiences that don't necessarily need to be ticketed, but just like, how do you add this crazy cool additional layer of reality on top of reality. But it's just another way for a guest to engage with something that can be gamified, something that could just be visually beautiful, but just adding these rich layers on top of the physical venue is really cool. I love the idea of using web AR for events, right? When you have a DJ on stage and you can hold your phone up and see this entire world come to life on top of the physical event that you're experiencing. And of course, we're going to take that to kind of full-on virtual VR experiences as well. Although at the moment, I refuse to do anything that's headset only, at least for a hybrid experience. I mean, I think we have to go with a 2D as well because the penetration just isn't there from a consumer perspective yet for full-on VR experiences, but they are heavily engaging in 2D virtual worlds at the moment. So
That is great.
I think the good news is there's endless opportunity for us to do crazy cool stuff in the years to come.
Totally agree.
I would like to thank all of you for creating casually delightful, deeply immersive, really amazing experiences. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trent.
And thank you. Up next, you will have revolutionized your presentation with one product and 5 workflows.
Whoa.
Thank you.